So just to be clear, I love both of my parents. But that does not mean that I want to become like both of them when I grow up. You see, my father is a statistician, genius actually, but what this means is that he is a genius at kind of overanalyzing, overcalculating, and really just thinking about every tiny little variable to death. And he applies this to everything. So when I was a kid, and we'd be driving along, well, he'd be doing the driving, he would say something to me like, now, if we make this light, we're only gonna be 3 minutes and 25 seconds late to church. But if we miss this major light, we are gonna be 5 minutes and 15 seconds late to church. And all that I really registered was, we're gonna be late no matter what. And he would take me on field trips to the grocery store, and he'd say things like, now you'll see how the unit price for butter does not go down even by a cent when you get the larger container. So it makes no sense to buy the big tub unless you are confident that you can consume the entire big package by the expiration date. And the only thing I was confident of was my own boredom. And once in the same grocery store, I waited over an hour while he handpicked those shelled peanuts that they have in the bin. And I asked him, why don't you just scoop them into the bag and we could be out of here in a normal amount of time? And he said, well, because then you'd get a few empty shells. And that'd be stupid to pay for empty shells. And I thought, do you know how little an empty peanut shell weighs? But I did not say that. And I'm happy to say that my mother saved the day. Now, she also knew they were both on a budget because I was an accidental surprise, your life is going to be trickier now, baby, who arrived, when my father still had a year left to go on his PhD. So I get the times were tight, and I'm not doubting that. But my mother found ways, even though she stayed on budget, she also would sometimes bring home a new top for me. And it wasn't my birthday or a holiday, and she would just say, oh, this shirt just cried out to me that it was perfect for you. And I love that inanimate objects would call out to her on my behalf. And she was spontaneous. She once woke me up in the middle, well, not the middle of the night, but I had been sleeping for a while, and said, Dairy Queen is still open. Do you want to get a hot fudge sundae? Yes, I did. Once this boy in middle school was calling me all the time because he liked me. I didn't even like boys at the time. And she asked me, why aren't you answering the phone? And I said, because it's Danny Hamilton. I don't want to talk to him. And she said, I'll handle this. I heard her pick up. No, I'm sorry. She can't talk right now. Why? Oh, because she's moved to Spain. No, for good. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. And of course, it was an outrageous lie because the next day when I saw him at school, he comes up to me and he says, you could have just told me you didn't like me. You didn't have to have your mom lie to me. But it worked. I felt a little bad, but he never called me again. So that was awesome. I wanted to be like my mother. My mother was a civil rights movement activist, not because she had friends who were doing it, but just because she thought that was right. That was what was right. And I'd love to hear the story about how she met the Martin Luther King and talked to him one-on-one. And I thought, that is cojones. That's bravery. That's what I want to do. I want to be like her. But in spite of your best intentions, you find that you can't help becoming just, I don't know if it's, because you're born with these traits of your father or what, but you find yourself at college and you're timing different routes to school to get to a class to see which one's the shortest, and you can't stop yourself. And then after college, I found myself accidentally teaching kindergarten, and my father was a teacher, okay, university, but still it's the same, basically. It was becoming my father, and then one day I woke up at 22, and I realized I have had no adventures. I've had no life. This is terrible. I have to change it now. And so I traveled by myself down through Mexico and the jungles and into Central America. And I basically was trying to make my little paltry savings last for as long as possible. So I couldn't totally be like my mother. I had to be a little bit like my father. But still, when I got down there, I let everybody know. I landed at this beautiful place called Sololá in Guatemala. And I let everybody know that I met that I was looking for adventures, new things to try. If they had any ideas, hit me. And so that's when Jose, who was the son of the couple I rented a room from, said to me, hey, you know Francois, the guy who gives the biplane rides for like $100 to tourists for 10 minutes up in the air? Yeah, kind of. And he said, well, he owes me a favor. And so if you're interested, I could get him to give you a flight for free. Am I interested? Yes. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So when I show up, Francois comes up to me and he says, you must be Stephanie, the friend of Jose's who he feels sorry for because you have no life? Kind of. Yes, I guess that would be me. So he says, well, let's go. Let's not waste any more of your not happening life. And so he says, hop on, and it's like, just so you understand, it's not like a plane at all. I have been on planes at this point. It is like a motorcycle with wings, okay? And he's in the front, and I have to get on in the back and hold on tight. And when it takes off from a beach, mind you, I'm sure we're just going to go right into the water. It's never going to work. But somehow we take off, and we're soaring around, and I think, this is it. This is perfect. This is exactly what I want. I mean, I feel like a bird because there's no protection. I'm just out there in the air like a real bird. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. And then we bank up a little higher and we're going around. And Solala has 3 active volcanoes. And this is the first time I've ever felt good about my chances around active volcanoes because we were soaring above them. And I remember how when I was a kid, I always wanted to fly, and I would tape these pieces of paper up and down my arms and run down the hill flapping wildly, but it never worked out. And so this is it. And you know, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, you know, I could become a pilot. I mean, if Francois did it, he doesn't seem that bright, and he's able to do it. Why couldn't I? This could be my whole life. And then I channel my father, and I'm like, maybe I could, you know, make my own plane or buy one used, and that would be cheaper to get into it. And just when I'm thinking about how life-changing it is to actually become like my mother, I hear this sound that I will never forget. It's very distinct. It's like the sound of an engine stopping. And then, in the eerie silence, the only thing I hear is a single word from Francois. He says, merde. Which, even though I don't speak French, I know that one. And we are going down, folks. And frankly, we weren't up that high. So there's not that far to fall. And I can't believe it. I mean, I wanted to live, not to die trying to live. This is crazy. And it's all because I didn't stay with my natural dad instincts. Because my dad, even for free, would not be on this flight. He would have fully checked out and done his research about the safety of this vehicle, which is clearly very low. And then I'm thinking, you know, besides it all being my mom's fault, I'm thinking like my life flashes before my eyes, and it's so short. It's so short. And this is not the way I wanted to go out. I mean, all things I'll never do, like write the great American novel, which I'm still working on, and maybe have kids of my own to ruin. And it's never going to happen now. And we are heading down so fast. At first I had this horrible idea that we were gonna like plunge into a volcano and the joke would really be on me. But then it becomes clear we're just heading toward the beach. And I can suddenly see people on the beach realizing that and running. And I'm close enough that I can see the fear in their eyes. They're running, grabbing their children, you know, to get away from this death plane. And I close my eyes, just bracing myself for this impact, when at the last possible second, the motor kicks in and we swerve up. And then I hear another very distinct sound. Francois is laughing. And I say, you did this on purpose? Why? And he says, well, since I'm not making any money, I have to have some fun somehow. And I hit him in the back of his head, not too hard, because I don't want to cause a real problem. And so now I try to embrace and appreciate some of the positive aspects of my father. It keeps me living within my budget. I always get to work in the shortest amount of time possible. And You know, as far as my mother goes, I try to live bravely and adventurously and to be fun like her, only like in a less life-threatening way. And to this day, when I hear a French accent, my life flashes before me, but at least it's longer now. Thank you.